Hi, welcome to Frostbites podcast. This is episode 31 and today is the 28th of September. It's Friday, I have a day off and I thought that I would film you an episode because it's been a long time. Today I have several finished objects, lots of sweaters. I have my Adige sock giveaway winner to announce, and I have some new yarns, new works in progress. So all in all, it's a full episode, and it is around midday. The sun is shining, which is wonderful. We've had really rainy autumn so far, but the sun is going around behind the window, and soon it will be in the picture, so I hope that I can get the episode filmed before the sun moves too close to my face. So I think we can start with the giveaway. Last episode I showed you my new design that I was about to publish, and soon after, well, not exactly soon after, it took actually a bit longer than I expected. But the pattern is now available in Ravelry. It's called the Adige socks, and this is the pair. I used yarn dyed by Johanna from Petrichor Yarns here in Finland. She has some sock sets in her Etsy shop. I will put the link in my show notes, so you can check them out. Beautiful colors. This colorway is called Julietta. The way it's spelled in Italian. And she has, I think, 4 or 5 different colorways in the sets. So go and check her out. It's a fingering weight merino sock, and it is just slightly speckled. I think it suits really well with the pattern. The lace doesn't get lost in this beautiful yarn. And yeah, so it's a top-down sock with a lace panel here in the top, and then twisted ribbing in the back of the leg, heel flap and gusset. Quite simple to do if you have some experience of lace knitting. There is a chart in the pattern and also a written section for the chart. The lace it looks more complicated than it actually is. Here you can see it a bit better. And I'm really pleased with the way this pattern turned out. We had a wonderful time taking photos in Italy with my friend Tiziana, who took the pattern photos for me. The cover photo on Ravelry is the one where we hiked up. Well, we didn't really hike. We took a lift to the top of a mountain, and we had to walk maybe a few hundred meters. I don't know how far from the lift the summit was, but it was gorgeous. It was covered in clouds, and Tizzy was really disappointed that we couldn't see the views, and I was just amazed of the fact that we were above the clouds, and I thought that was wonderful. So you can see a bit of a smoky, cloudy background in some of the photos. So the Adige socks are now available in Ravelry. I hope you like them, and thank you so much for all of you who already purchased the pattern. It makes me so happy to get an email from each purchase from Ravelry. And Johanna sent me one special skein in the same yarn, but it's a different colorway, and this colorway is called Romeo. So this is Giulietta, this pink one, and the green one is called Romeo. And the winner of this giveaway will receive this skein of yarn from Petrichor Yarns and my Adige sock pattern. And let's see. There were 56 entries for the giveaway thread on Ravelry, in my Ravelry group, which is, by the way, called the Frostbites podcast group. And I have my random number generator here. The first post was mine, so I will be drawing from numbers 2 to 57. And the result is 40. So let's see who that is. Number 40. Is Raili Sisko. And the prompt for this giveaway was to share your favorite place to travel, or your favorite place to place to where you want to travel or where you have already been to. And Raili Sisko says that I've traveled many times to northern Norway and liked it very much. Someday it would be wonderful to get to Iceland. I agree. I've been to Norway and it's beautiful, and I've never been to Iceland, but really would like to go. And it was so much fun to read all your posts in this thread, and I got really bad travel fever from all of these posts. So if you're looking for some inspiration where to travel next, you might want to check the thread out. So Raili Sisko, please send me a message either in Ravelry or on Instagram, and send me your mailing address as well as your Ravelry name if you contact me via Instagram, so that I can get the pattern out for you as well. Congratulations! And I would also like to remind you of my other quite new pattern that I published a little bit before the Adige socks. So this is my Dolomiti wrap. It's a long rectangular lace wrap using 3 different colorways, and I have used Woolly Tizzy's hand-dyed yarn, which is 100% superwash merino. And I think also Tizzy has some yarn sets still left. You can check her Instagram account for the photos and contact her via Instagram if you're interested in getting this yarn. And Dolomiti wrap is also available in my Ravelry store. And then I think we can move to all the finished objects. As I said, I have many sweaters, and we can start with the newest one and the one I'm wearing. This is the Mon Manet Light by Jonna Hietala from Line magazine. And this pattern is an individual pattern on Ravelry, so it's not in the magazine, but you can purchase it already now from Ravelry. And I test knitted it for her. It's pretty much the same as the Mon Manet that was written for Aran weight yarn, I believe, which I knitted already last winter. So it's a simple raglan sweater, top down, and it's 4 fingering weight yarn. I used Tuscan Knits yarn in her fur base, which is 100% superwash merino. It's fingering weight singles yarn. Pardon me. And because the deadline was quite tight, I wanted to start working on this test knit straight away, and I didn't have any fingering weight to use for this sweater in one single color, so I decided to use my 3 different colorways from Tuscan Knits that I thought would go really nicely together. And I actually didn't pick all of these colors myself. I ordered 2 skeins from Maria just before Edinburgh Yarn Festival last winter or spring, and she brought the skeins with her when she came to EYF, and she was really sorry that she had mistakenly sold out on the other colorway that I had ordered. I don't remember anymore which one it was. So she brought me 1 skein that I had ordered, and then another colorway that she could give me to go with it, and she said that she will send me the right colorway when she gets back home, and she did. So I have three colorways, one of which I didn't order but received anyway, and I think they are all so beautiful and they go so well together, and I'm really pleased with the end result. The yarn is really soft. It feels almost as if there was silk in it, and it also has a little bit of sheen to it, but it is just merino wool. And for the test knit with the tight schedule, we only had to finish the yoke and 1 sleeve. So I knitted those first, and I was playing yarn chicken when doing this, because I wasn't quite sure if the 3 skeins would be enough. For me, I don't remember from my previous fingering weight sweaters, I probably hadn't been so tight on the yarn before, and I had used like multiple colors, and it was really hard to know how to place the color changes in this one so that I would have enough yarn for a similar sleeve for first thing, and then to have about the same for the body. So I was weighing my yarn every now and then. I was trying the sweater on. I tried to match it with another finished sweater to see roughly where I should place the color changes, and to have, it's not 3/3, because the yoke shaping means that, or the raglan shaping means that the percentage of each yarn has to be a little bit different. But I think I knitted with the first colorway almost to the end, because I only have knitted maybe 10 rows after the sleeve separation, and then for each color change I did 10 rows in 1 row stripes. And let me just get my leftover skeins or balls. This is how much I've got left from the 3 skeins. There's I think 4 and 5 grams left in these, and then a bit more than 10 grams left in in the middle color. So I was quite lucky. I was quite lucky to manage to get this sweater and have the color change as I planned. When I had already started working on this sweater, just in case, I ordered one more skein from Maria in the Pigwidgeon colorway. But I was pretty sure that it wouldn't go between the colors as I had planned. It would have been, I would have had to use it as the first color, and I had already started working on the more pink colorway. So it was quite an exciting project to say the least, to see if I can manage to squeeze out the sweater from these 3 skeins, but I did, and I'm really happy, and I love the sweater. It's so simple, and it goes with jeans or even with a skirt or whatever you want to wear it with. It's a loose fit, very comfortable. I needed the size S, and I decided to put the stockinette stitch, the right side on the right side, to have it as my right side. There's an option also to do it as the Mon Manet Aran weight is made. So you knit it in stockinette stitch and then you turn it around to have the reverse stockinette on your as your right side. But this one I did the other way. And yes, so the colorways. The first colorway is called Cordelia. The second one is Bit of Jam. And the last one is Mushroom Patch. And then I have 2 other test knits for Line magazine. The new issue should be out today. I'm not sure if I have it in my mailbox already. I haven't checked my mail for today, but I'm hoping that I do get it today and not next week. So for the magazine itself, the first one I knitted is this amazing sweater by Sari Nordlund, a Finnish designer. And Sari has had the Kiuru sweater previously in Line magazine, and this sweater is called Poet. And in the magazine, the sample is knitted in tukuwool, colorway Runo, I believe, and that's where the name for the sweater comes from. Runo is poem in English, and the sweater is called Poet. And this was a bit more challenging sweater, I have to say. It's not a beginner sweater, but if you have experience from knitting a top-down raglan and you are experienced in lace knitting, you can definitely do this. And Sari made some alterations to the pattern according to the feedback, so I think it should be a lot more easier now, the version that is published on the magazine. But still, you really have to pay attention to the chart, and especially when you're doing the raglan increases. It's not too difficult. It's totally doable if you have some experience. So don't be afraid. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern, and I highly recommend it. And I used Blacker Yarns Jacob yarn, which I bought from Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I had different plans. I have a few blue skeins as well in this yarn, and I was going to do the was it called? Trembling Sweater by Anna Maltz from her new Marlisle book. But instead I decided to use the yarn, the white yarn for this. So this colorway is called Clay. It's the natural white colorway that they have in the Jacob yarns, and this is their fingering weight yarn. They had two different weights in the Jacob yarn. So this is the 4-ply, which means fingering weight, and I think it really looks good in this design. The sleeves are quite tight for me. I don't think it's the pattern's fault at all, it's just the way my arms are. I usually always have to change the decrease ratio when I'm knitting sleeves. Actually, this Mon Manet sweater is probably the first one where I didn't have to, because it's very loose. I did it exactly as the pattern said, but usually I have to change the ratio, but here I didn't, and I probably should have ignored a few decreases. It's still totally wearable, but I'm thinking it might be a little bit more comfortable to wear if I left a few decreases out. So I might revisit this and reknit the sleeves someday. I blocked it quite heavily because I really wanted to get the lace open and I wanted it to be a loose sweater. And the yarn seems to be working for lace really well. It really has, the lace really opened up and it has stayed. It has held the blocking really well, which is not the case with all the yarns. And I finished this sweater probably early June. So it has already been as is for a couple of months and it's held really well. So everybody just go and knit yourself a poet. It's such a gorgeous design. I'm admiring Sari's work more and more each day. She comes up with such classic, beautiful designs with a modern twist. I just love them. So that's my first Linen Magazine 6 sweater. And another test knit for Line 6 is this one. This is the Arbustos sweater by Rosa Pomar from Retrosaria shop in Lisbon, I believe. And I knitted this one from another yarn that I purchased from Edinburgh. And this is Lammermuir Shetland wool, their DK weight, 100% Shetland wool, and I love this yarn. It is just amazing. It's soft but rustic and just very cozy, and I think it's perfect for this design. When I get the emails for the new test knits, we don't always get a photo of the project that we're going to start working on, or we might just get a drawing, or not even that, just the pattern. And sometimes it's a bit hard to imagine what sort of yarn should I use, and But I think with this one, the match is just perfect. It's also a top-down raglan sweater, and this one is worked also inside out, the same way as the Montmanet original, so to speak. And there are bubbles all around in the sleeves and also in the back. And then, so you kind of work the bubbles on the wrong side. And then when the sweater is finished, it's turned inside out. And then I think you need, I don't remember anymore, but I think you need, actually I think the ribbing was worked in the beginning and not picked up. I don't remember anymore, I'm sorry, but you can read it from the pattern. And it has nice twisted stitch details here in the raglan shaping and also in the side seams. They continue down the sides, also in the sleeves. And it's a cropped version of a sweater, so I think cropped sweaters go really nicely with skirts. And I have been needing more sweaters to wear with skirts. I like wearing skirts, but if the sweater is longer, then it looks too heavy on me, I feel like. So a cropped sweater works really nicely with skirts. Some people during the test knit said that they had a bit of troubles with the bubbles, and they had gotten holes where the bubbles are. I didn't really get that. I think it's partly because of my tight knitting. People who know me know that I'm a really tight knitter. And Rosa said that when she knits the bubbles, she wraps the yarn once around the finished bubble and then continues. I didn't do that because she said that once I had already been working quite a long time with this sweater, so I didn't want to change the way I do my bubbles. But what I did was once you had worked the whole bubble and you had the last stitch on your needle, I pulled the yarn really tight on the needle and then continued. I don't know if it helped for the holes or not, but I don't feel like I got any holes in this sweater. I guess that's all I have to say about this sweater. Another beautiful line design. Those were all my sweaters. Oh, one thing I want to mention about this sweater. I was knitting this during the heat wave in Finland. It was way over 30 degrees pretty much the whole time that I was knitting on this. It was really hot. I couldn't sit down and have this on my lap at all when it started growing. So I was walking around the house and knitting while I was standing and walking. It was, if I wasn't on a deadline, it would still be on my needles, but that was the only way that I could manage to knit the DK weight Shetland sweater. So I think it's extra cozy and warm because of the heat that was knitted into the sweater. And I also think that I feel like the bubbles add some warmth, even though they don't in real life, but it gives it a warmer feeling. It feels a lot thicker when you look at it than what it actually is. And someone asked me, do the bubbles get caught into things or into each other when I'm wearing it? Not that I noticed. It doesn't bother me at all. And there is a section in the sleeve where there are no bubbles on the underarm part of the sleeve, and also the sides. There is a bit wider parts where there are no bubbles, so I think it helps. But also, they are not catchy bubbles at all. Very easy to wear. And the weather around here is already so cool that it's been really nice to wear all of my new sweaters. This morning when I woke up, I slept in a little bit because it was my day off, and when I woke up around 9 o'clock, I think, it was, I think 2.5 or 3 degrees Celsius. So it really, the weather has changed dramatically over the past few weeks. Whew, okay, those were my finished sweaters. Then I have something else that I have finished. I have finished a pair of socks. I think I was knitting on these the last time I showed you. Just really basic vanilla socks. And I used Rosa Pomar's Montim yarn that I purchased from Jyväskylä Knit Festival. I've been knitting a lot of my festival yarns, which is really good because, yeah, at least I tend to buy a lot of yarn from the festivals. I have concentrated my yarn purchases to festivals these days, and it feels really good that I have been using them and they are not just sitting in my stash. So these are top down. This time I did a little bit longer cuff, I think 20 rows. I usually do 12. And a basic slip stitch heel with garter stitch edges and a gusset and a rounded toe. This is the kind of socks I usually do when I do vanilla socks. I haven't worn these yet. I usually tend to take all my socks into rotation as soon as they are off the needles, but I wanted to show you these before I started wearing them. And these are the second pair of Montim yarn, and they are a sock yarn without nylon. So I'm very interested to see how these wear out. The other ones that I have made earlier, I have already worn a couple of times and they look fine, but it's only after some months that I will know whether they are holding up well or not. I really like the colorway. It's totally my jam. It's pink, but it's colorful. It's like a pink rainbow. And I think that's what I called them in my Ravelry projects page. And then finally I have a quick project that I was asked to make just a few days ago. My nephew came to me and he said, Minna, I want you to knit me a sweater, socks or a hat. And I decided that a hat would be what I need for him. and I asked him what color should it be, and he said Circus, which is one of the colorways by Louhittaren Luola. I have knitted socks with some of that yarn for him earlier, and he just seems to remember all the colorway names. It's quite funny. So when I came home, I went through my stash. I knew that I couldn't use the sock yarn, Circus sock yarn for him for the hat because it's not soft enough. So I went through my stash and looked for all of my different merino yarns, and I ended up using, I have quite a substantial collection of Cascade Heritage and Cascade Heritage silk yarns from previous projects, and I picked some colors and then I pretty much randomly chose 2 colors that were really similar to hold together to create this kind of subtle marling effect on the hat. I knitted this hat top down, which is something I've never done before. I didn't use a pattern, I just winged it. And because I didn't take any measurements of my nephew's head, I had no idea what size it should be. So I thought that a ribbed hat would be a good option because it fits a variety of heads in different sizes. And I just increased until I thought that it would be wide enough, and then continued on for a while. And then for the ribbing, I did what I quite often do. I did the Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off from the wrong side, which looks a bit like an I-cord in here. So this is actually, I think, about a DK weight hat now that I've held double the fingering weight yarn. We haven't tried this on yet, so I don't know if it fits, but I hope it does, and I hope that he likes it. I have sent his mother a photo of the hat, and apparently he likes the colors in the photo. So fingers crossed he will like it enough to wear it. And one tip, if you are changing colors in ribbing with purl stitches, is to work one round in just knit stitches when you are changing the colors. And that way you don't get the purl blips of color, of the contrasting color in the ribbing. So that's that. I think that's all. Yes, that's all of my finished objects, which of course was plenty. And then I think the sun is almost turned this way, so I'm not sure how long I have left to go before it hits my face. But I think we can start on my whips. There are quite a few that I can share with you. I have already started something secret again, but I do have some whips that I have been working on. First of all, my Lotta dress from line S6. It's a design by Mary Green. It's the one in the cover. I've been working on this at knit nights and other social gatherings because I think I have to work about 65 centimeters of stockinette stitch, so this is easy to do around people. I think I'm probably about halfway in the body now. I'm using Jill Draper yarn, also a purchase from EYF this year. I seem to be working on pretty well with my EYF purchases this year. It's really nice caramel wool. And I hope to finish this soon because it would be a perfect autumn dress, but I have again a deadline knit, which is my priority. So this is only for the social events that I go to when I'm working on this. But slowly and surely it will be finished. It will be finished when it will be finished. I talked more about it in the previous episode, I think, so I will move on. Then in this bag I have a pair of socks and yet another festival purchase. This is Petrichor Yarns stripy sock ball, and it creates this beautiful striped sock with speckles only on the white part of the yarn, and then the contrasting cuff and toes are this mini skein from La Bien Aimée. I think these are probably already the third pair of socks that I'm using this mini skein. It was part of a, was it a part of a set? Maybe I just bought them separately, I don't remember anymore. No, it was a part of a set that I probably won from a giveaway from La Bien Aimée a couple of years ago. And this colorway is called Amy's Lipstick. I'm planning to do an afterthought heel because I didn't want to interrupt the striping. And there's my Moomin marker to mark the heel. And I have just started to work on the toe decreases. And this has been also a good social knit as well as travel knit when I didn't want to bring along a dress or a sweater. And it's staying in my Give Me a Crown project bag with all the beautiful Australian flowers. And then another sock project. I had a meeting in Helsinki. Was it last week? Probably so. For just a day trip, and I wanted to have a simple knit on the plane, and I'm still afraid to take metal needles on the plane. I prefer to take wooden ones just to be sure that I can take them on board. And I didn't want to change the needles for the stripy socks, so I just started a new pair. And this is some yarn, Regia Perfect yarn that I bought from a clearance sale at a local yarn shop they are closing down. And they had a sale for their sock yarns, and I bought a couple of more skeins which I will show you later. And this is the design line by Arne and Carlos. It's the 4-ply sock yarn, and to me it looked looks very Christmassy, so I started working on Christmas socks for myself. But this has been put aside now, and I will probably keep this as my travel sock. I am making this a tiny bit longer than usual. I even folded the rib, and just because how the patterning is. And I think I am now at the point where I start working on the cuff, not the cuff, the heel. And I also did a couple of decreases here because I thought that this would be longer socks, which needed to be a bit longer, a bit wider at the top. So I have now decreased down to 60 stitches, I think, what is my usual stitch count for socks. And I'm hoping to finish them by Christmas so that I can wear them at Christmas time. And then I have yet another sock project here. Where's the blocker? It's here. I hope you can still see me because it seems to have gotten really dark now. I don't have a flip screen for the camera, or actually I'm filming with my phone, but I like to use the back camera of my phone because it's a bit better quality than the front camera. So here is one sock. This is dark yarn and I'm not sure if you can see anything from it, but I will put a photo of them if not. So this is something that I just came up with. I started working on some cables, and while I was working on this, it's started from the toe. I decided that I want to try out a different gusset placement. So in these socks, the gusset is here instead of where it usually is here by the heel flap. And it seemed to work pretty nicely. The gusset actually forms another cable that goes up. And other than that, it's how I usually knit my toe-up socks. And I'm working already on the other one. And I have stopped now because I want to write up the pattern. And for these socks, I didn't do any notes on the first sock because I wasn't sure if it worked out at all. And so I think I'm trying to write the pattern as I go with the second sock. So I think I've made just one increase round so far, but you can see where the stitch markers are. That's where the gusset is going to start forming. And maybe here you can see the cables a little bit better. And I'm using my trusty yarn from Louhittaren Luola, Väinämöinen. I don't remember the colorway. It's quite an old ball of yarn that I have left. It's a leftover from another project. I'm not making any promises on when the pattern will be finished. I feel like I have to be in a certain kind of mood and a state of mind when I'm writing patterns, and I'm usually able to do that only during holidays or longer periods of days off. But on a normal everyday life, I just don't have the brain space for doing that. And then I thought that I would show you also this one, which is not a sock, even if it looks like one. It's actually my sampler sock leg that I'm working on every now and then when I get a new idea of a new pattern. It looks different on both sides. It has short sections of different things that I have been trying out, trying to come up with a new pattern. And I think I might use some of the elements here in some future design, but I still am not, I haven't found the perfect combo. But this is something that I find easier to do than swatching and always casting on new stitches. I just keep this. This is my 60 stitches that I usually do my socks in, and then when I get an idea, I will try out, I will chart something and I will try it on this one and then decide whether I like it or not, and then maybe change a few bits and pieces and try it again, like I've done here. So this is my sampler for designing. I think that's all of the whips that I've actively been working on lately, and the ones that I can share. I think I only have some yarns left that I want to share with you, some of which I already showed you. So you already saw this Tuscan Knits Pigwidgeon in her fur base, the merino singles. It's now a leftover, kind of a leftover from my Montmanet light sweater, but I am sure that I will find a project for it. I think I will probably use it for a shawl with some other merino singles that I have. Then we went to Jyväskylä with my colleagues about a month ago, and we had 1 hour of time to spend at the courtyard where the yarn shop Tititu is, and also where the festival area is in the summer. And I wanted to get myself a souvenir yarn from there, so after a lot of squishing and looking around, I ended up buying a skein of Twisted Finch, which is the first time for me. And this is their blue-faced Leicester high twist sock yarn, and I really like high twist BFL yarn for socks. And this is a bit darker color than I usually get, and I always, when I'm putting on my handmade socks, I think that I really need to make myself a darker pair of socks, because all my socks are bright pink or yellow or green or something really colorful, and I would like to be able to wear hand knit socks for all the occasions whenever I need to wear socks. So these will be cast on hopefully soon. And then also about a month ago, I think, Louhittaren Luola had a new shop opening. She has moved her dye studio and yarn shop to a different location in the center of the town. Really good, a much better location for the shop, and I'm so happy for her. And at the opening midnight opening day, I bought a skein of her new tweed base in the fingering weight yarn, and I was planning on knitting this into socks, and I actually already started to knit on them. And then I posted a picture on not on Facebook, on Instagram, and soon after I had published it, Tuulia, the dyer of Louhittaren Luola's yarns, posted a comment saying that probably it is not a good idea to knit socks out of this yarn, because the nylon that there is in this yarn is just in the tweed nubs. So the rest of the yarn is, I think it's BFL. I don't have the tag here. So it actually isn't a BFL nylon sock yarn. It's a BFL yarn with just nylon tweed nubs. So I unraveled it, and I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but it would be good for a scarf or a hat or something, or maybe mittens. That might be an idea. And this is her new yarn base called Terhenetar, if I'm correct. I need to check that. But if it's not that, then I will put it on the screen. Yes, and then the closing down sale that my local yarn shop had. They sell mostly just commercial yarns, or they do only sell commercial yarns. No hand dyed at all. It's more of a traditional yarn shop. And I ended up buying 3 skeins of Regia sock yarns. This one is the 6-ply, which is a thicker one. And then this is the same as my Christmas socks, just in a different colorway, with black and more dark colors and some light blue and red. Also by Arne and Carlos, this one. And this one is just a stripy rainbow. And then finally, one more yarn that I have bought is this local Kainu grey yarn, and I have already forgotten, but I think the lady who I bought this from had hand spun this. Could it be? I think it is. It's with nylon, so it could be used for socks, but it's quite thick. So I'm not sure, but I just love Kainu grey yarn, so I had to buy it when there was a lady selling her own. It's from her own sheep. And it says there is 190 grams in this, but there's no meterage. So I don't really know how much yarn there is. But it's really, it smells sheepy and it's a bit greasy, and it's really, it feels really nice. And it softens up when it's washed, I know, from my previous Kainu grey knitting. And the color is a bit more brown than grey. It's brownish grey with little flecks of natural white or maybe it's the nylon, I'm not sure, but the color is more white. So that's my last yarn purchase for this episode. Wow, that was a lot of things to talk about. What else? I hosted a knit night in a local summertime cafe. It was like a pop-up cafe nearby where I went to this summer, and while I was there I thought it would be a really nice place to host a knit night. So I asked the owner whether it would be possible, and we agreed on a date, and I think it was their last week. They were still open. They closed for the autumn, and they are planning on opening up before Christmas as a Christmas cafe. They don't have running water in the cafe. It's in an old, very old building outside of the city, and it's this Jugend style pink house, quite peculiar looking, and it was a really nice evening that we had there. So many people came. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so popular, so thank you everyone who came. I had a really nice time, and I hope you did too. It was the cafe Kahvila Evilä here in Oulu, or I'm not in Oulu, but Oulu is the next town, the next city, and yeah, I'm hoping to have another knit night before Christmas there, if I have time to organize it. I'm quite busy at work just before Christmas, so we'll see. And as I said, I also went to Tuulia's new shop, Louhittaren luola in Haukipudas, and I've actually been there twice now in the new shop. There was another knit night last weekend as well, which was nice. And yeah, now I'm just waiting for the new Linen magazine to arrive. And now that I'm looking here, I noticed that I didn't share my sewing project, so this will be the last thing I'm going to talk about. Oops, sorry, I moved the camera. I showed you this fabric that I got from Italy this summer. It is hand-woven silk fabric that I was going to buy from this little weaving shop in Mezzano. I already forgot the name of the little village. It's up in near the Dolomites, and the workshop is called Arteler. And I found this beautiful silk fabric, which I've been working on at my sewing class, and now there's a pin attached. Okay, so I've been working on a loose fitting t-shirt because that's all that I could get out of that amount of material. I've had so many problems, and I've made so many stupid mistakes doing this project that I don't know what has gotten into me. It's like everything goes wrong as soon as I start working on this. But I think I'm going to be able to get a decent shirt out of this. So the pattern itself is very simple. Capped sleeve, I think what it's called. I still have the hem to finish, but otherwise the shirt itself is done. I used bias tape to bind the collar, which probably wasn't the best idea. The fabric is quite loosely woven, so it's a bit challenging to sew because it keeps moving in a funny way, and especially here in the front I feel like it doesn't look as good as it could, because somehow the stripe moved when I was sewing in the binding. I don't know what happened there. It's probably because the binding is so thick and so tightly woven, so different than the material itself. I should have done a facing, but I was lazy and I decided on this one. But I think once it's on me, it doesn't show up as much as when I'm looking at it here. And my teacher and I had to discuss different options in many parts of the project, because there was only a little amount of the fabric, and also the other end of the fabric is a bit different because there are no pink stripes in one end of the fabric, so I wanted to have that in the front. And I'm also making a belt for it so that I can gather the waist, and I wanted to have a tie belt, and of course I didn't have enough fabric, at least to have it cut in one piece. No matter how we tried to place the actual pattern for the fabric, there was just no way I could get a long strip for the belt out of it. And yesterday at my sewing class I started making the belt. It's made out of 4 pieces of the silk. I still have to sew the other side of the belt, but it's made out of 4 different pieces, and we tried to match the fabric so that the striping is continuous, or at least it looks almost the same everywhere. But we had to do a little trick here in a couple of places. I think the other one is here and other one is here, where the striping doesn't, the blue part is a bit longer here where the seam is, just so that we could get enough material for a belt that can be tied around me. So it's been one of those patchwork things that I seem to be ending up doing almost every time I sew something. And I'm going to have the ends in an angle, and I put some lining material behind it because there was just not enough material left to do the belt in the same fabric on both sides. So this is actually all I have left of the material. This is the biggest piece. But I couldn't use this for the belt because the stripes go into the wrong direction. And then I only have these little pieces, and these are even smaller. So I am quite impressed that I was able to squeeze out this shirt and a belt out of that material. and I am so happy that it worked out as good as it has, considering all the stupid mistakes that I've made, which I'm not going into. But yeah, I don't often sew at home, especially these projects that I make at the sewing class, because it's easy to make mistakes, even at the class. Because my projects are quite advanced, I would say, most times. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything right. And I usually don't have the energy to start doing things at home. And because I love knitting so much that I want to spend all that time knitting. But I think maybe today or tomorrow, now that I have a few days off, I will be able to finish this. I only have to top stitch this belt, and then I need to double check the fold in the hem and then top stitch that as well. And what we decided that I would do here, because the striping is different on both sides, the front and back, because of the fabric was different on the other end, I'm going to top stitch at the back just below this stripe, and then I'm going to go down in the seam a little bit, and then I'm going to top stitch the front on top of this stripe, so that the top stitching will be as invisible as possible. I didn't want to do it by hand because we have now 2 weeks off from sewing, and I really want to finish this now. I'm so close to finishing this, and if I had done it by hand, I would have had to ask my teacher how to do that, because she always has really nice tips and really nice ways of doing things, and we were running out of time this week for her to show that to me. So I thought I will just use my sewing machine and finish this that way at home. And hopefully next time, if I remember, I will show you what it looks like when it's finished. Okay, I think that is finally all that I have for you this time. I hope you have a nice springtime if you're in the southern hemisphere going towards summer, and if you are here in the northern part of the world, I hope your knitting keeps you warm and you also get some sunshine, not just rain or snow, depending on where you live. Happy knitting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.